Welcome to Coffee and Conversation. We are excited about this next episode, and today we're actually drinking coffee. If the previous episode we did not have coffee, and today we have, as Evan was saying earlier, this is a Brazilian nut straight from Brazil. It's very good, very rich, and what else is rich is friendship and conversations with these guys right here.
Hey, glad to be here.
Very excited to break it down with you guys from a message from one of our pastors, Jeff Lovingood, who preached. And man, I'm excited to break it down with you guys today. Also, if you are not in a online small group, I would love for you to get connected to community that way. You can find out more about that with the link in the description. Wherever you're watching this, on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, please go to that so that we can get you plugged in to a small group community. And I love these guys. I hang out with them all the time, and I'm going to stop talking to the camera now. I'm going to talk to you guys because it's a conversation, coffee and conversation. So I have a question that I'm really curious. I know my answer right now, no doubt about it. Your last meal, let's say for some reason you had a choice to make, this is my last meal. Okay. You're ever going to eat on the planet. Frank, what would you choose to be your last meal on Earth?
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Hold on. Guess. What do you think his is?
You can't guess it, but go ahead.
What?
You can't.
Is it the same as what you said last week?
Almost. No, it's not. I don't know what
Okay. Okay, I don't know, man. I don't know.
All right, go ahead.
If I was to guess,
What would you say?
I think it would be like gumbo.
Why?
It's pretty close.
That's good.
It's pretty close.
Okay.
Dude, but it's not gumbo. It's beef stroganoff, but it's pretty close.
Seriously?
Stroganoff.
No doubt.
Gumbo is nowhere close to beef stroganoff.
I'm gonna tell you why.
Thank you for the credit.
It's just it's solid. Really, it's nowhere near it, but yeah, beef stroganoff.
What is beef stroganoff? Legit, I don't know.
That sounds good.
Really?
I really don't.
Okay, Michael. You don't know what beef stroganoff is?
Beef.
Dude, do you remember what his favorite meal was last week?
What was it?
Long John Silver's.
That's
That is
why.
true.
Favorite fast
That
food
is
place.
true.
That makes sense.
That is true.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
long as
No,
beef stroganoff.
beef stroganoff is just beef tips, and noodles.
That'd be your last meal on Earth.
But
With like a
the-
white sauce, like a white gravy sauce.
Yeah, my mother does it with a brown sauce,
Oh,
not white sauce, and she puts wine in it. I'm done.
He puts wine in it?
I'm done. That's the way she makes it, and it's fire. So that would be my last meal for sure.
That is awesome. What would you have to drink at your last meal?
I don't know, man. Probably water. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Before we guess mine, can I guess I feel like your last meal
Okay.
is the same as comes from your favorite fast food restaurant?
No, it doesn't.
2 fish, 6 shrimp with the extra crispies on the side
No.
and fries,
That would not be my last
and a
meal.
large coleslaw.
No, that would not be my last meal.
Okay, fair.
That is a really a number 7.
Mine absolutely would be fajitas from Papacitos.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
I love
Okay.
their fajitas. I love their chicken. Steak's good, but their chicken fajita. If y'all never had Papacitos,
Yeah.
there's one near Atlanta. You should make the drive or find one near you and
Yeah.
That's your last meal.
have it. Dude, I love it. I love their fajitas.
Cheers. That's a good one.
I love Mexican food, bro.
Cheers.
Love it. And I don't even need their queso. I just like their green salsa.
That's great.
And yours.
My last meal would be Velveeta macaroni and cheese, the shells, okay, with peanut butter and jelly, strawberry jelly or strawberry preserves with with crunchy peanut butter and chocolate milk. Oh,
Are you talking about on a sandwich? You didn't clarify. Or is this all together?
oh no, yeah, great job.
Yeah, because I was
In my mind, I was like,
Velveeta,
that's
This
a
is
10
terrible.
right there.
Velveeta on the side, the macaroni on the side.
I got you.
With the peanut butter and jelly. I used to eat that a lot.
Your peanut butter and jelly, do you cut it in half? How do you, or do you eat it
No,
as
I just
just
go
a
for it.
sandwich?
Just
Okay.
straight up.
But you said
whole
like
sandwich.
real preserves though.
Yeah, strawberry preserves.
Not
definitely.
real jelly.
No, not like preserves.
Not like what?
Where you get your preserves?
So anyways, thank you for joining Coffee and Conversation. Now we will get into the reason that you all tuned in. Maybe that was the reason. You tuned in for the icebreaker and you're out. I get it, totally. But with the message yesterday, Evan, why don't you kind of go kick us off? Oh, man, I don't know how to sit in these chairs. I'm just going to be very honest.
That's why I'm just sitting back.
You know, okay, maybe I should just do this. Sit back, drink my coffee. Evan, tell us yesterday.
Yeah.
Dr. Jeff Lovingood spoke.
He brought a great message yesterday. I mean, first off, I just want to say, getting to sit with him in a room is one thing. Getting to hear him teach and share his heart is a whole nother. I mean, he's such a great leader, and
Right.
I think that showed yesterday with the way he opened up and shared his story. There's so much power in sharing your own story.
Yep.
And he talked about a couple big things in there. You know, boasting in what God has done through your life, I think is huge. But also realizing the grace and the dependence that it takes to rely on God enough to allow to give us a space to boast on what He has actually done. You know, it's hard to boast on what God has done without relying on what God has done.
That's
and
good.
so, I mean, I loved that he shared that story right there.
Yeah, I think the verse that he broke down, and I loved how he had one of our other pastors, Steve, read before, just kind of broke it down. 2 Corinthians 12:9 was a part of that. And it says this, but he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, what you were just saying, for my power is perfected in weakness. And I know for me, reading that today and hearing that yesterday, there's so many times where it's like I have tried really hard not to show weakness, or I've tried really hard to look like I have it all together. And over in the Bible, we see that that's really nowhere to be found. Where being perfect is really, Jesus has done that for us. So that's something that for me stood out. And I would say that was the overriding theme of his message was, you know, he worked so hard, and I don't know if you have watched it yet, but he says over and over again how he would ride the bike for this many miles, how he was walking this many miles, and he was doing all these things on the outside, but on the inside he was dying. Man, I just really makes me think.
No, yeah.
That's so important.
I was really wanting you to say something right there. I thought that's nice a tie-in for you to be like,
No,
No,
but I was just agreeing, like, you know what, that is a big deal, though.
It
That
is,
is a big deal. You know, 'cause so many people live their life from the outside in instead of the inside out. I mean, that's a real deal, man. People go through their whole lives pleasing other people. They go through their lives, you know, keeping up with the Joneses. They go through their whole lives trying to make sure that they're, you know, all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed, and on the inside, you know, they're empty.
Right.
That was a big deal, man.
Well, I think it's a big theme for Paul in his explanation of the gospel is it's by grace that we're saved. I mean, that word grace is so important. It's unmerited favor. It's something we don't deserve, but God gives us anyways. Because just like Jeff said, however many times he said it yesterday in his message, God can't love us more.
Oh, yeah.
Meaning that God loves us beyond what we can imagine already. I mean, he literally gave us a piece of himself as his son. You know what I mean? And so it's by that grace and that love that we're saved. You know, it's that same grace that keeps us sufficient, that makes us who we are, that carries us through tough times.
That's good.
I think also in that verse, 2 Corinthians 12:10, it says, so I take pleasure in weakness. That bothers me. Like, I take pleasure in weakness.
Yeah, that's hard.
I mean, really think about that.
That's
like,
hard.
Do we take pleasure in weakness? I mean, do we take pleasure? And then it says, I take pleasure in insults. I take pleasure in hardships. I mean, insults for me, you know, it gets me.
Yeah.
When I hear of somebody saying something mean or talk bad about me or whatever, I don't take pleasure in that. And I know that's an area that I've got to work on. And truly, Frank, Evan, how do you do that? Do you have any? I mean, truly, like, how do you take pleasure in an insult?
Well, I think in this passage, I think Paul is saying, though, it's for the sake of Christ that he can do that. So what he's doing, he's living his life from the inside out through the grace of Jesus.
Good.
Like, so when someone shoots an insult at him, then he knows, hey, I'm doing what God is telling me to do. I'm doing what God is calling me to do. So it's easier to take an insult to say, well, hey, you know, I'm being persecuted as they did Christ. So I'm doing, you know, as Christ is doing. So I think it's easier to be able to, when you look at it from that standpoint, as opposed to looking at it like, hey, you know, I'm putting, you know, this is about me, and I'm doing my best to show everybody that I can do this or do that, and then I get an insult. That one stings.
That's good.
You know, and I think that's the difference.
That's
in the
outside
scripture.
in.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a great word.
Absolutely.
Versus
absolutely.
he's living his life inside out. And when we're living our life inside out, then
Yeah.
it's like, okay,
Yeah.
you're doing it. Your motive is right. Everything is right.
Absolutely.
And it is for the glory of God.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, you even looked
That's really good.
earlier in chapter 12. Paul explains how he had that out of body experience, and he sees things that he can't even explain. I think to your point, Frank. I mean, Paul's talking about the end game.
Absolutely.
He's like, man, I see the end game.
Yeah.
I see what God wants to do in me and through me, and so all these things around me, man, they mean nothing compared to the God that's sustaining me, holding me up, pushing me
that's
forward.
good.
I mean, that's powerful. You think about it, it's so hard for me. It's so hard for me to focus on the end game. I mean, I got 4 kids I wake up to. I mean,
When you say end game, Evan, explain what. Maybe someone's watching this. They don't understand that. What does end game mean?
So-
when you say that, what are you talking about?
I think Paul's trying to say here that, like, man, or Paul. I mean, what I'm trying to say, the end game is the focus is on glorifying Jesus when he returns, going to heaven. Like the purpose that we're called to is share the gospel of Jesus, so that we can all be celebrating with Jesus in person in heaven at the end of time, or the end of our time. And so that's what I mean by that. And I think that's where Paul's eyes were right there. That they're on Jesus, thinking, man, I had this out of body experience. There are things I can't talk about. I can't even put into words, but I've seen it. And I know that God's glory is going to be known if I just keep trucking forward.
Yeah.
And by his grace alone, no matter what's coming at me, I can stick there and I can do that. Because it's hard, man. You got 4 kids. You got 3 kids. I got 4 kids. Waking up, there's day-to-day, minute-to-minute, hour-to-hour things that want to derail you and detract you. And outside of that, we got a whole other lives outside of just kids. There are a lot of weaknesses. There's a lot of insults, hardships, persecutions, calamities that maybe all of us are walking through today that just,
Right.
man, it's hard to keep focused on the end goal. But Paul's encouraging us, man, keep going because God's got it.
Yep.
Keep going because God's got it.
I think that's a good reminder. We all have different things in our lives, and we all have stuff that we've gone through, we're going through, and it is that inside out. I really like how you said that. It's that inside out. It's not so much what's happening, and I know that's what Jeff was saying in that message. I encourage you to go watch that message.
Absolutely.
There's a link in the description. Please go watch that and share that, because I believe the message yesterday was so vulnerable, and that's what our world needs to see. Is great leaders being vulnerable and talking about where they've been to where he is now, and we got to walk with Jeff, who's on staff here, and we get to serve alongside him, and we watched him go through a very hard season of a heart attack, which he was so scared of for so many years, trying to prevent it and doing all these things, and then he went through it, and I think he's a lot of us, we haven't been here that long, but I feel like he's a better leader now than he was, and
I think he would tell you that too.
Yeah,
I think he would tell you that too. So, definitely.
So I just think it's important that sometimes, I was reminded this weekend, we keep things in because we don't want to look weak. We keep things in because we don't think anybody's going to understand. And here's what I want you to know is that there's people that are saying, man, I struggle with that. I'm weak there. I have this problem. And there's people all around the world, maybe just right there next to you, that are saying, man, I'm with you in that struggle or in that weakness. And like Paul says here, it's okay to show that you don't have it all together, because nobody has it all together. And that's where we started, and that's about where we're to end up. And I think that's what, I don't know, Frank, I'd love for you to speak on what happened at the end of the services, which they're not going to be able to see when they watch the message, but with the people coming down and just those moments.
I think it was. I think yesterday was really good for not only me and you, but I think it was good for the people that were there in the service to be able to see, like you said, our leadership being vulnerable, and Pastor Jeff really showed his heart yesterday, and I think that was really good for some people that were really trying to search their own heart. And some people that had maybe been thinking, hey, I have to make sure that I put the mask on, if you will, and I don't want to be seen as weak, if you will. And to be able to see the service at the end of that service, to see people let down that mask and open up and cry out to God at the altar was pretty powerful yesterday. It was really powerful.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Evan, you want to end it with anything?
I think it's so, we talked about, Paul says, he'll verse 9 there, he'll boast all the more gladly. He follows it up with saying he's content.
Oh yeah, that was.
With the, I am content.
Yeah.
You know, and that was something Jeff talked about towards the end there. Is I am content. And what does it mean to be content in that weakness like that? I mean, I think that's a daily walk. That's a daily struggle. That's a daily humble myself before God to go, hey, a lot of stuff going on, but I'm going to give it to you and let you handle it. And I think that was my biggest end of the line takeaway. Literally, the last thing I wrote down was Paul was content because he knew God was in control.
That's good.
And as Jeff was speaking, that's what I heard. He's telling his story. He's telling laying on the bed. He's telling his night alone. You know, like, man, he knew that no matter what happened, God was in control. And maybe that's the same thing for Paul. And man, that hit me deep yesterday. Something that I think I need to tell myself every day. You know, God, you're in control. I'm okay because you're in control.
That's great. You know, if you're watching this and you need prayer, or if you need help with something, or you're wanting to get involved somehow in our church, and you don't live anywhere around Cleveland, Tennessee, which is where we are, I would love for you to just let us know. You can send us a message. You can DM us. You can text the word CONNECT to 74784, and man, we'll connect with you as soon as we get that response. If you're overseas, please message us on WhatsApp or on Facebook Messenger so that we can get in contact with you and help you with whatever that is. And I would encourage you today, why don't you go and with your eyes wide open and look for people that may be hurting and may be covering up with something else, and let them know, you know what, it's okay, and let them know you're there for them. Let them know you can be a friend to them, and you never know how you being available to somebody else can really help them to be able to open up of what they are struggling with, and then maybe they'll start boasting in their weakness, and you can let them know about the contentment that Evan just spoke of, which is Jesus. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here.